Hello everybody, and welcome back to Animal Crossing New Leaf. Welcome Amiibo, more mail, Budge. I love watching the birds in town. Seems like they're always chirping. I wonder if they write letters to each other too. I bet they have great airmail service. That was bad, Pudge. That was bad. I think it has been a little bit since we talked with him, so maybe we should, like, see about finding him. I kind of wish Jeremiah was still in town. I feel like they'd be pretty good buds. Just two little guys doing little guy things. Oh, save and continue time. I don't really know what to talk about today. I mean, my back still hurts. I think I made mention of that yesterday, that it hurt in general. It still hurts. Like, really wish I knew what I did to my back, other than clearly I was in just a weird position for too long. What do we got? 4 PM, all items will be half off. They really miss my, my purchasing. Trying to get me to come back and buy more stuff. But it ain't gonna work. Because, like, there's really nothing there I want, particularly. So, I mean, like, I have no real reason to go back. Like, I have the store fully upgraded. I don't need to buy anything anymore. I funded their renovations. Now they can find another source of income. But, I mean, I could always just ramble about what I've been rambling with other people online about recently, but, like, it's just my age-old Linux complaints, basically. Which, like, I will briefly mention, just because, like, it's a really interesting catch-22 moment. Where, like, Linux is not in a state where I could switch to it and use it as my main operating system. So that means I have no interest in switching to it. Because if I can't use it as my main operating system, what's the point? If I still have to deal with Windows, I still have to deal with all of the same problems I'm dealing with now with Windows. And, you know, all the stuff around that. Only I have to dual boot into Linux to... Like, why would I want to... That just is adding extra work. Why would I want to do that? But because there aren't that many people using Linux, there's no real money in developing Linux, so nobody does. Leading to, basically, you know, a situation where the vast majority of, you know, Windows users would probably quite happily switch to Linux if they could have the assurances that it's going to just work. But because they're not switching to Linux now, when it doesn't work, the argument is, well, it'll never get better because you're not switching to it. It's like, no, that's... People using Linux isn't going to be what makes Linux better. What's going to make Linux better is Valve continuing to dump money into Linux. Like, there is no way Valve has even remotely made back the amount of money they spent getting Linux ready for SteamOS. Like, it should not be underestimated how much money Valve spent to make Linux as usable as it is. Like, when SteamOS launched, Linux went from having very little game compatibility without extra work to at least the bulk of Steam games running no problem. Frisk is being a pain in the ass because she wants the curtain put up. And I think because she's being a pain in the ass, I'm not going to do it today. Because I do not wish to reward her for being bad. I mean, the breeze is still coming in my window, and it's still getting around the curtains, so, like, does not affect me any to have the curtain closed. Doesn't affect her any either. She can still sit in the window just fine. Thelma! Hello, hun. Nice day to get a few things done, isn't it? What do you want? Let's chat. I think fruit is the most beautiful thing in the world, don't you agree? Of course you do. They're like jewels, aren't they? Everyone dazzling in its own delicious way. So you wouldn't mind finding me some fruit? Any kind? Sure. Knew I could count on you. Hey, I got your fruit. Yeah, it could be your fruit. Could be also a butterfly or some bamboo shoots, but no, it's your fruit. Oh, wonderful. That hits the spot. Just a little something. Take my club tea. Yeah, I don't really want a club tea, but I mean, I'll take it. Oh, jeez. Really, guys? How am I supposed to talk with either of you when you're doing that? Well, I'll be back. Pudge! Hey, little buddy. Now one person's trash to another person's treasure. Well, my stuff is all treasures. How about trading your Raja bee butterfly for a blue down jacket? Sure. Sure. I mean, I would have rathered you, like, pay for it. But, you know. Yeah, it probably was a lot of fun for you and your wallet, Pudge, but it's not very fun for my wallet. But it's fine, I guess. But, like, Linux is probably the best example of a catch-22 in an operating system. Because, like, no one uses it because the support isn't there. The support isn't there because no one uses it, but no one uses it because the support isn't there. You know, it's one of those instances. Like, it just loops on itself forever until a big company comes along and dumps money into it to make it happen. Because the Linux distros themselves aren't making it happen. Like, the only reason Linux is as usable as it is because Valve dumped as much money into it as they did. Like, the first Linux distro released in the mid-90s. Like, Linux has been around for a very long time. And have less of a market share, or had less of a market share than Apple had with their premium devices. You know, but, like, another big thing that people need to realize is that, like, everyone keeps going on about how, oh, the year of Linux is coming. It's coming. The year of Linux is not coming until you can convince Dell to carry Linux as an operating system. Like, that is the only way Linux is ever going to take off to the degree that they want it to. Purely because most people buy pre-builts. Which seems to be something completely lost on a lot of Linux users. Is like, A lot of people buy pre-builts. They make up the vast majority of computers bought is pre-builts. Computer enthusiasts in general don't seem to understand that no, people buy pre-builts. Because, you know, and I can understand it. Like, once you understand how this stuff works, like, if I wanted a pre-built with the specs I have, I would be using like a $2,000 plus computer. For that kind of money, I could have built an even better computer. Coffee here smells great and tastes strong without being bitter. It's delicious. But you can make some amazing coffee cake with it. I mean, that really depends on where you're making coffee cake. So can you come by? Would you like a coffee today? Yeah, I'll have a coffee. So I've learned American, like, United States coffee cake doesn't have coffee in it. What are you guys doing down there? It's literally in the name. But, I know I'm now getting into the whole Linux rant, but hey, it gives me something to ramble about. Like, the whole problem that Linux has is that basically a lot of the people making and working on Linux distros simply don't want to work on supporting closed source programs. They just don't want to do it. They don't want that broad support because they don't want closed source programs on Linux. Well, the problem with that is that there's a lot of closed source programs that everyday computer users use. And the argument of, oh, well, there's this alternative on Linux, that's not a solution. Like, my favorite thing I've ever been told by someone using Linux, and it's my favorite thing because it's the funniest, was, oh yeah, this free alternative is just as good as Sony Vegas. The big companies just don't use it because they're too mainstream. No, the big companies don't use it because, one, it's open source and thus a liability, and two, because it's not as good. Like, I love how it's like basically like California hipster bros that are like Linux users, but they also get very aggressive. Like, that's kind of another problem with moving to Linux, is like, let's imagine you're using Linux and you run into a problem. But this is a problem that, say, has been in Linux for decades now. It's a common problem. Which really begs the question why it was never just fixed. But, you know, the fix is a relatively simple thing, but you don't know what it is because you're new to Linux. So you go asking around on forums and stuff, like, hey, how do I fix this? This isn't working. What do I do? You'll be met with so many Linux bros going, God, you're so stupid. It's just simple. You should just know how to fix it. It's like, I'm new to Linux. I've never done this before. Sure, you guys struggled when you first used Linux too, you dickwads. Like, I do apologize. I curse in videos occasionally. It's to make absolutely sure that my videos never get relegated to YouTube Kids, because I would absolutely hate for that to happen. I like my engagement with you guys, so like, I don't want to lose that. But, like, there's so much elitism within the Linux community that it's kind of unreal that even some, like, big diehard Linux fans who have been using Linux for 20 plus years have to, like, end up make YouTube videos who happen to be tech enthusiasts. have periodically made videos over the years basically being like, guys, stop it. This isn't helping. Like, quite simply, the fact that there are problems with Linux that have existed long enough that their solutions are commonplace and you should just know how to fix them screams that the distro is not ready for public consumption yet. Like, if it's an easy fix, it should be fixed. Like, and I only even really got on this discussion with people because of a level 1 text video where he was basically could you thank you, where he was basically going over the random performance difference for the 9000 series AMD CPUs when it comes to different versions of Windows and Linux, and like, they're kind of just all over the place. And, you know, it's one of those things where, like, even he was pointing out throughout the video, even though he's a Linux user, like, predominant Linux user, of, you know, during some of the examples he was doing, he was running into, ooh, new fish. A Napoleon fish. It's too big. Though it does look to have his trademark look to it, so, you know. This is probably another horse mackerel, but I want to see, because if it's not a horse mackerel, I want it over the horse mackerels I've got. But, like, yeah, I definitely want this over a horse mackerel. But, like, he literally was running into issues, and even he was making jokes of, like, yeah, this is just how Linux is. It's, you know, it's basically, like, he basically ran into, like, a texture mapping problem, and he's just there, like, it's just a texture mapping problem. Like, it's just what Linux has problems with. It's like, you better not want the Napoleon fish. Ah, clownfish. Okay. I'd rather money, but sure. I mean, I would have greatly preferred money. But, you know, what are you gonna do? Like, it's just funny to me how, like, Linux can have these big problems and people are still just like, yeah, it's fine. It's ready. Euro Linux is coming. It's like, when? 2040? Like, at the pace Linux has been being developed at, Valve only cares about the gaming side of it. They're not going to make everything else work. Like, when are you going to find another big company that's going to put the amount of money that Valve has put into this, into it, so that Linux can properly work? Like, I honestly don't believe you're ever going to find that, because there's no reason. Like, unless some other company wants to make a Steam Deck-like program, well, Steam Deck-like system that is for more production workloads, which I highly doubt would ever happen, because that sort of thing just doesn't work. You need, for production workloads, you need high-end components. And we kind of already have a Steam Deck-like system for production. It's called a laptop. And those just run regular operating systems. And even then, you'd have to find one that isn't just happy to run Windows. You know, because that's just easier. Like, let's be real, Valve could have just put Windows on the Steam Deck and not bothered with Linux at all. And had, you know, good performance. I mean, it would have had basically the exact same performance that the Steam Deck has now. And it would have saved Valve a lot of money. They probably would have actually made money off the Steam Deck instead of right now, where I'd imagine, given their investment costs into making it happen, they probably haven't made a huge amount of money off the Steam Deck. At least not the Steam Deck directly. People buying games because they bought a Steam Deck and are thus now Valve customers. That was probably the whole plan all along. You know, make the money back by getting more Steam customers. But, like, at the same time... I thought this fish was going to stop moving. Why beach junk? Just going to collect beach junk. I'm almost tempted to go grab my wetsuit and, just go deep sea diving. But I've also recorded a good amount today, so... Not every episode needs to be 30 to 50 minutes, I mean... Okay, I'm gonna grab the 3 pieces of coral. That's basically all the beach junk anyway. But, like, it's... Linux is only going to get there when the people making distros and all that stuff, one, start actively asking for money. Which, let's be real, from everything I've seen around the Linux community, that's going to make those distros hated because... There seems to be this growing mindset of, why should you pay for software? Well, maybe because it costs time to make, and time is worth money? Like, if I make something and it takes an hour of my time, the Nova Scotian government says that at minimum, that is worth $15. Because that is the minimum wage for hourly work here in Nova Scotia. If I've put, you know, 10 hours into something, well, now that's worth $150. If I put 100, well, now that's $1,500. You know, it makes sense to want to get compensated for your time. But yeah, I think I will actually end things off here, because I'm just going to go on a weird rant again, and I know it. I'm going to try and have something actually, like, more relevant to ramble about, like, tomorrow. It's just... I need to get out of this, like, depressive funk and start actually doing things again for that to happen. So, you know. But yeah. Frisk is being a pain in the butt. Thank you all very much for watching, and hopefully I shall see you back here tomorrow for more Animal Crossing New Leaf Welcome Amiibo. See you all then.